quick question on the grapes. Bruce, Sauvignon Blanc, what's your perspective on Sauvignon Blanc? What's your view on it, apart from it being a cash cow for the business, obviously?
It's pretty important to us.
Yeah. What's your view on it I guess where we are, we understand how important it is, but where's it going? Where are we going with Sauvignon Blanc for you?
So I guess you've seen that sort of diversity. So, I think what you're seeing in the last few years, and what we'll see more and more, is that sort of sub-regional story being told, which is probably a nice segue to the wine that we've sort of sent to Jeremy, because it's sort of a core part of how we try and talk about it. So try and call attention, I guess, to I think, companies like ours, even though, I might crush 3,500 tons, I'm sort of small to medium in Marlborough, really. So there's very hard for us to compete with the really giant, the Pernod Ricards and the Constellations and all those sort of massive companies which are, banging out a generic Marlborough Sauvignon, I suppose, which will be inevitably from all the different sort of sub-regions and the different valleys and, wherever they can sort of get it from, I suppose. So I guess, with some really, after I'd started with us, that we sort of figured that our only way forward for us was to sort of concentrate on the sub-regions where we sourced our fruit from. So for us, particularly the Awatere Valley, and back then particularly sort of doing single vineyard Sauvignons or single vineyard wines, in fact, across the whole portfolio back then. And that sort of changed a bit as we've got a bit too big for some of the single vineyards. But yes, I think that sort of, I can't see the style of Marlborough Sauvignon changing a lot, we all play around with barrel fermentations, and I've got, some puncheons out there, and I've got, got a client here who makes wine and concrete eggs, and there's all this sort of playing around the margins. But really, what Marlborough Sauvignon is all about is that sort of clean, pure, sort of driven fruit, and, lots of freshness and all that sort of stuff, which you really get through pretty simple winemaking. Yeah.
It's a banker style. Why change it? It's a global winning style. Doing other things with Sauvignon Blanc for one's personal gratification and to see where the possibilities with the grape is really fun and really interesting. But that's in your context. That would be such a little side project.
Totally. Yeah.
And the Sauvignon Blanc that I've made. I've purposely gone out of my way to do everything that is the antithesis of what would be the Marlborough model or the standard South African model, because there's a lot of commercially successful Sauvignon Blanc being produced here as well. But I've fermented with natural yeast. I've fermented with solids. In eggs, gone malolactic, done all those things that are not what your regional style is. Yeah. And the other thing, being a small producer and not being geared up for that type of winemaking. I'm never going to win the battle of the war to do a facsimile or try a facsimile of what you do so incredibly well. So it has to be something different.
Play to your strengths and that, absolutely.
I think we're just so lucky, most of Marlborough, I don't think we realise quite how, like most people that live in New Zealand, to be honest, probably don't realise quite how lucky we are. Like to have a wine like Sauvignon Blanc, which just sort of, like you said, is the cash cow, and it's sort of, it's all turned over. It's sold, bottled as quickly as possible, and sold really quickly, and build back up again. It's almost unique in the world. There are obviously other areas like it, and we all talk in Marlborough too about having all our eggs in this one basket, and the risk to us of having 80% of our industry all in one varietal and stuff like that. But I guess that doesn't.
It'll never.
Everyone's like that. Yeah.
It won't go to fashion.
No. We're so small; it's pretty hard to sort of.
And I think the other thing about what you do. I was just thinking about how the trajectory of Shiraz in Australia and how it actually ended up becoming unfashionable, and that's because the wines became so lolly and so simple. And I don't see that even with guys like Ken Crawford and the really big guys. when you crack that bottle of wine, you've still got a bottle of wine that somebody who likes wine wants to drink.
Yeah, that's quite hard to find a bad one, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that's a challenge. Is actually to get enough distinction between in what one does to actually pull away from the really big commercial brands.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, and I think that's a challenge that we get in some of our overseas markets in the US restaurant. We're really lucky because it's almost like every bar or restaurant in the world almost has to have a Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc on the list.
Indeed,
absolutely. Like it's almost guaranteed. But where we run up against, like to your point about trying to differentiate yourself from the others, is how do you become, how do you get people to ask for Cloudy Bay rather than just for a Marlborough Sav? Do you know what I mean? Which if you go to a hotel or a bar in Melbourne or in Sydney, it'll be just give us in my best Aussie accent, give us a Marlborough Sav, and it's almost like they've become so sort of reliable and sort of good over the years, really.
Yes.
It's trying to get that sort of brand loyalty, I suppose, when the base standard is pretty high. Yeah. I mean, we're lucky, when I travel around the world and I taste sort of like, aromatic white wines from other parts of the world, you can sort of, we get used to it here in Marlborough, but you go around the world and you taste, most other regions, aromatic white wines, and you kind of think, I can see why Marlborough Sauvignon is so popular. It's just
it's just a huge
so vibrant.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.